Hello, and welcome back to our Awakening Intuition video series where we pull oracle cards twice a month from my decks Awakening Intuition and Grief, Grace, and Healing. So today we are pulling cards for the first half of July, and we're looking for some cards to help inform our self-love, our self-care, and our mindfulness practices for the first 2 weeks of July. So whenever we get going on these readings, one of the first things we do is test our intuition. So I'm going to pull 3 cards from these oracle decks. And right now you're going to pause the video or just kind of slow down your thinking and get quiet and ask your intuition for a number 1, 2, or 3. That might indicate the card that proves the most helpful for you for the first 2 weeks of July. There are a few ways your intuition might give you this number. You might hear the number in your mind as a gentle voice. That's the psychic pathway of clairaudience. You might see the number as a mental image in your mind's eye. That's the psychic pathway of clairvoyance. Or you might just feel a strong energetic pull every time I say those numbers 1, 2, or 3 to a certain number. That is the psychic pathway of feeling energy, and that is called clairsentience, which all empaths and sensitive people are very strong in the clairsentient psychic pathway, and we'll be talking a little bit more about empaths at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. So get quiet, get your number, and then we will now move on to the next section of the video, which is the recap of the last 2 weeks. So those are the cards and messages that we got for the last half of June. The message that we got through the cards and that I got clairaudiently when I was pulling cards was that the second half of June might be a time where we were needing to rely on grace more in our lives, and we were getting more messages from grace. Grace being that benevolent spiritual force that comes in to support us when we need it most. Grace is always operating in our lives, but there's just some times when we need a little bit more support, and it will kind of turn up the volume or turn up the heat on all the information, the resources, the opportunities, the people that it sends to help us. And we can also just ask with a prayer or an intention that we, hey, I need a little more grace in my life for this last 2 weeks of June. That was something that I felt like people might really be needing or experiencing. And that truly did happen to me. There were so many moments in the last 2 weeks of June where something would work out, something would unexpectedly show up, really just to kind of smooth and ease my path. So, sometimes grace can't completely remove the obstacle or make everything okay, but it can put that little bit of extra softness, padding, that little bit of extra help, that little bit of extra guidance that really allows you to move through a time that might be more challenging or just might be extra. You're making a lot of decisions, a lot of things are happening. The other card that really resonated for me was the 4th card we chose. It kind of stuck in with the other cards, so we ended up having 4 cards. And I feel like when that happens, we get a 4th card, it's a message for everyone, no matter what number you picked with your intuition. That card was Learn the Lesson with Love from the Grief, Grace, and Healing deck. That is a card about how we're always kind of, learning lessons or changing or evolving in our life. And it's best to try and do that with a huge dose of self-compassion. And for the last 2 weeks of June, it really struck me that there are times when we have to remember we don't know what we know until we know it. So, we can have a lesson or an epiphany or an internal change and shift, and we think, why wasn't I thinking about this way before? Why wasn't I doing this before? Why wasn't I seeing things this way before? You weren't. You hadn't learned the lesson. You didn't know what you know now. You just didn't know it. So I think when we remember that we just simply didn't have that wisdom in the past, it helps us be so much more compassionate towards ourselves in the past and in the present. So it's a lot easier to process and integrate new knowledge and new wisdom when we can do it through a lens of self-compassion. And I really feel like there's so much suffering in the world. Let's not add to it by being harsh with ourselves. we can mindfully be very gentle and compassionate with ourselves and kind of create that neural pathway. And who knows how that positively affects other people or positively affects the collective. All right, so that was our recap for the last 2 weeks of June. I hope there was some soft grace energy and moments that came in to support you and help you no matter what's going on in your life right now. So have your number 1, 2, 3 with your intuition. We are going to pull our first card from my deck, Awakening Intuition. This has been a really, really exciting offering for me to put out in the world because this deck has become so popular. It's really inspiring to me how many people are enjoying it. And I think it speaks to how much people are connecting more with their intuition in this modern time. So they need these kind of tools, and I'm so glad that this is out there. It's actually sold out on Amazon US because it became really popular really fast. So we're waiting for the reprint to come, which should be here in the next 5 weeks. So I'll let you know when that's there. In the meantime, you can get this deck from the Barnes & Noble website or the bookshop.org website, where you can support local bookshops at the same time. So you all know my shuffling method, or a lot of you do that watch these videos. And I always say, use the shuffling method or pull cards however best works for you. There's no wrong way, and it's nice to find your own style with it. So my style is I warm up the cards with my palm chakras, and I'm setting the intention that we are going to get some really inspiring messages. I just heard clairaudiently. So whatever messages we get for the first 2 weeks of July from this deck, we're going to look at them and we're going to frame them through an inspiring lens. All right, so now you're going to see a lot of cards flying around as I start shuffling. I'm looking for one card to kind of stick the landing and hang there and let me know that it wants to be chosen. Hello, just popping in with a quick reminder to like this video and subscribe to my channel, especially if you really value these videos and look forward to them, or maybe they're even becoming a part of your regular spiritual practice. If you like this video and subscribe to the channel, it really helps my team get these videos out there to more people. Thank you for being here, and now without further ado, back to the video. So here we go. We're looking for cards for the first 2 weeks of, there we go. We've got our first card. It's stuck up on its own right above the others, about 2 inches. Lets me know it wants to be picked. Ooh, what a fun card to talk about. I love that. All right, now we are going to pick our second card from Awakening Intuition. We're going to do the same thing. We're looking for a card to just jump up and stick up above the rest. Okay, there we go. So we got a couple cards that time, but there's one that is sticking out a little bit above all the others, and it's the first card. It's even peeking out to the side, so we're going to take that card. So now we have our card number 1, card number 2. I love these cards. I can see what they are. But if you chose card number 1, you're here. Card number 2, you're here. And now we're going to get our next card from my deck, Grief, Grace, and Healing, which, talk about soft energy, is here to support you anytime in your life you are going through a big change, a significant loss, even just a sense that there's a new chapter of your life opening up, and there's an old chapter that's leaving, that's going away. Those can be really tender times, and especially if it involves losing someone you love, or losing a place you love, or a job you love, or you're saying goodbye to a phase you loved with your body, or a role you had in the world that you loved. This is a really good deck to help support you during those times. And I always pull from this deck a little bit differently, as video watchers will know. So first we're going to warm it up with our palm chakras again. And we're asking again for a message that is inspiring and also healing, because I do feel like there's something healing about these first 2 cards we pulled from the intuition deck. Now, instead of doing our fancy shuffle method, we're just going to simply allow a card to open up and show us what wants to be picked. Oh, very inspiring card. I like that theme of inspiration. I don't think we've ever had Sounds kind of like an obvious theme, but I don't think we've ever chosen the theme of inspiration for, I've never heard that clairaudiently for a video theme. So first 2 weeks of July, if you're feeling inspired or you want to feel inspired, go with that energy. And now we'll talk about card number 1, which is Alert Intuition Growth Spurt. You are currently experiencing a general increase in your intuitive ability or gaining access to a new psychic pathway. Just like physical growth spurts you experienced in childhood, an intuition growth spurt may seem awkward or uncomfortable at first, but you'll soon adjust. Sensitivity exists on a spectrum, and yours has shifted. So one thing I'm being reminded clairaudiently is that we all change. And this card does speak to change. It speaks to suddenly having your intuition open up and blossom, having a new psychic pathway open up, or suddenly having one you already have open, like your clairsentience, where you can feel energy and emotions of others, suddenly gets stronger, or the guidance gets more, I don't know if I want to use the word accurate, but just more direct. So that could be happening for some people in the first 2 weeks of July. And I do think what I'm hearing clairaudiently is some people watching this video might feel like they're going through a growth spurt in their life in general. You know, that they really are changing and evolving. And when we think of a growth spurt, you know, with a child, it's something we kind of celebrate. They're getting older, they're getting bigger, they're maturing. This feels like the same kind of growth spurt where it's celebratory in a way because you're learning something new about yourself or the world. You've stepped out in new ways in your life, as we had been hearing for the past month or two, was something that was coming up in the cards, but there's a sense of positive growth and blossoming happening. So this could be happening with your intuition and sensitivity. I do sometimes just get clients who come to me for intuitive readings just because of that. You know, I'm becoming more psychic and sensitive, and I need to know how to manage and handle this. It's always a good thing when that happens, but just like anything else that's changing or growing with you, it takes a minute to understand how to process and assimilate that. And it takes a minute to be able to learn how to fly with those new wings that you're growing. So if you picked card number 1, I think it's positive change, personal development, growth spurts in your life in some area. And it might also even just be with your intuition and sensitivity. So card number 2 is a little, it's different, but it kind of marries well with that first card. It is open up to feel. It's mindfully tuning into energy and emotions around you now is nourishing. Whether it's the calming energy of nature, the inspiring energy of someone you admire, or the connection in intimately sharing someone else's emotional experience, it's safe, healthy, and healing to absorb in a balanced way. Bond with others and the world. Okay, so this card especially speaks to people who are sensitive and are intuitive and have that feeling psychic pathway open, which I think is one of the most common psychic pathways to have open. So I'm sure everybody watching this video has that. This speaks to knowing that you can feel the energy and emotions of other people, the world, spaces, and opening up to that. Instead of, which sometimes we need to do, kind of protecting and pulling back and saying, I don't want to feel as much. This card says, yeah, let me open up and feel a bit more. I think that with things going on in people's lives, things going on in the world, we might sometimes feel the need to protect too much or to pull back too much. So I think this card is saying for some people watching this video, especially if you chose card number 2, the first 2 weeks of July could be a nice time to say, you know what? I'm going to open up and feel, whether that's opening up and feeling with a friend on the phone or getting out and about in the world more, or just letting myself feel something that is challenging in the world or in someone's life or even in my own life, and making sure that I kind of balance that with some lovely soft heart energy that I'm also opening up to feel too. So, it might be that some people I'm hearing, especially if you chose card number 2, you might have felt a bit cocooned for the past few months. And now you're kind of stepping out of that cocoon and wanting to open up and feel more part of things, part of life, with all its beauty and even all its challenging parts, and kind of, being out and about more and getting out of that cocoon. So card number 3 is, a really inspiring card. It is from Grief, Grace, and Healing. It says reinvent and reimagine. I feel like when I look at these cards together, the intuition growth spurt, open up to feel, which we heard was coming out of the cocoon, and now reinventing and reimagining something with yourself or your life. It's a lot of, again, inspiring positive change. So I'll read this card to you. Offer yourself the grace of reinventing or reimagining an aspect of yourself or your life. Grief and healing are tributaries of transformation, and grace is sending messages about how you might redefine your priorities, desires, goals, and needs. A grace you possess wants to be expressed in the world. Honor who you are today. More fully embody yourself. Ooh, really inspiring card. And I think that if you chose card number 3, I'm hearing clairaudiently, that's the universe, that's spirit, that's grace, your angels really wanting to encourage you. Not just inspire you, but encourage you. Keep going. This new direction is right. This new thing you're wanting to do or you're already in process of is what you should be doing. And allow yourself to open up and dream a new dream. For yourself. And if that's already bubbling up in your intuition, find ways to follow that in a practical way in your life. Again, that will make you feel more inspired and engaged with life. So I love these 3 cards, and you might have found that a couple resonated for you, or as the weeks of July go on, you might find that the one that you picked really, really has a poignant message for you. So the last thing I want to do and give everybody a message, and this is, we can't really plan out these videos, my team and I, too much, because, I'm pulling these cards in real time. So I like to do something at the end for everybody called a Synchronicity Flip, where I will show you what that is in a minute. We get a synchronistic message from a book. And for many videos now, I've been using my self-love book. But this morning, I kept getting the information, and other people that were helping me put together this video said, let's do Empath Heart, Empath Heart. Well, it's very interesting that we picked my book, Empath Heart, about sensitive people and how to navigate relationships as a sensitive person. It's very interesting we picked that book to do the Synchronicity Flip with, because we had so many messages about being sensitive and intuitive and even having that open up or get stronger. And that was the first card. The second card was, how can I decide if I want to kind of protect and pull back or open up and feel? This is all information that's really covered in depth in this great book, Empath Heart, which is also my first audiobook. So if you're somebody who likes to do books through audio, you can get this via Amazon on audio. So now we'll do our Synchronicity Flip. So you can do this with any book that you love at home. You, again, simply hold it between your palm chakras, and you're asking for a message that will really resonate for you in the moment. You might have a specific question, or you might have just an open-ended, message that you just want the universe to give you some direction. You don't want to direct the universe too much. So this book has at the end of every section little mantras. So I'm asking that we get a really helpful mantra for the first 2 weeks of July. And now I'm going to flip and stop. And this is interesting because I didn't get to a mantra, which is what I wanted, but I have to honor the Synchronicity Flip, which is kind of what you do with a Synchronicity Flip. What I opened up to was a quiz at the end of the chapter that is really interesting and I think helpful. It's a quiz about how assertive you are. So that's, I think, our answer right here. So what we're being directed to from our book about being a sensitive person, and this book in particular is about being a sensitive person in a relationship with other people. We didn't get one of the mantras. What we got were the quizzes that are at the end of every chapter. And this quiz is, how assertive are you? So I think what we might find if we are a sensitive, intuitive person watching this video, which is probably everyone drawn to this video, is the first 2 weeks of July might be a time where you're needing to be a bit more assertive. Again, that goes in with this being more out in the world, coming out of the cocoon, reinventing and reimagining your life, the angels and guides wanting to encourage and inspire you to get out there a bit more. So again, if you, for the first 2 weeks of July, this is a message for everyone. Don't be afraid to be a little more assertive in your life, in the world. And that is, being assertive simply means I am kind of putting myself out there. I'm putting my agenda out there. I'm being more open with others in my life and people in the world about what I want, what I need, what I desire. And I'm kind of going for it. There's something in my life that I'm really kind of pushing forward, and I'm using that great chi, that great yang energy to kind of push this out there and go for it. So I hope those messages were really helpful for you. And I just want to thank you for being here on this video series. I absolutely love doing these. I get so excited to do the videos each time. And I've been hearing from a lot of clients that I do one-on-one intuitive readings with, that they really have begun looking forward to these messages. And it's part of how they navigate the next 2 weeks of their lives, because what you can do is, while you're watching this video and listening to me, you can use your own intuitive system to pay attention to what really pops out as really, really important for you. Like, wow, that one thing Tanya said, that one card she pulled, I can't quite forget that. I get chills when I think about it. So these videos, if you just watch them with an open mind, can be a way for you to do a reading on yourself, and your own system will tell you what information in the video is most important for you right now. Thank you again for being here, and I am wanting to encourage you to go after whatever you want to go after in the first 2 weeks of July, because I think that's really the message we got for everybody from Empath Heart.